Welcome back. In this session, I'm going to talk about exercise. I've said this before, but it's even more important here. Talk to your doctor before you begin an exercise program. When I was at my heaviest, exercise was probably just about the last thing I wanted to talk about. Just doing the movement I had to do was hard enough. I really didn't want to hear about adding any exercise. Well, I'm going to say something very simple about exercise and weight loss. Exercise is necessary, but not sufficient in a weight loss program. I seriously doubt that it's possible to have a successful long-term approach to managing your weight without incorporating exercise. But it's equally important to say that in my experience, you can't lose substantial amounts of weight from just exercise. I don't care how many jocks are on TV telling you that if you just commit to their wonderful program, the weight will just come melting off. It just isn't true. At least not for people like me. Believe me, I've tried. You must also control what you eat. But that doesn't mean that exercise isn't critical. It is. Some people were athletes in school, but noticed that since they turned 30, they started gaining a pound or two a year, and now they're 10 or 20 pounds overweight and want to do something about it. Hats off to them. I think it's always good to address issues that affect your health. They may be able to lose enough weight with exercise alone, but that's not who these sessions are targeted to, and I don't believe it will work for you. It certainly never worked for me. I'm primarily talking to people who have 50 or more pounds to lose and have had a serious weight problem for just about as long as they can remember. Others may benefit from what I'm saying, and if they do, that's great. But I don't really understand their problems. I do, however, think I have some insights into people like me, and I am completely convinced that my problem is not the same as the athlete who wants to lose 10 or 20 pounds. They tend to be people who, despite what they told themselves, ate pretty much whatever they wanted until they became middle-aged, and then noticed they had a problem. I was fat when I was 3, and I've always been fat since then. My eating control mechanisms don't work. They probably never will. I finally accept that. To be successful, I have to exert constant cognitive control over what I'm eating. That's what this whole program is about. Exercise alone cannot do that. However, that's not to say that exercise isn't important to the success of this program. In fact, it's critical. I can't imagine losing a significant amount of weight without exercise. Even more, I can't imagine maintaining what I've lost without exercise. In addition to improving your overall health and slightly increasing the number of calories you burn, both of which it definitely does, exercise directly impacts several aspects of your ability to stay on this program. First, exercise is one of the best stress relievers there is. There's really no question that one of the triggers for overeating in many people is stress. Eating, especially eating comfort foods that you shouldn't be eating very often, reduces stress. At least it reduces stress temporarily until you realize what you just did. Stress just evaporates when you exercise, and it leaves you feeling incredibly relaxed. Second, reasonable exercise increases your intestinal motility and increases the healthy microbes in your intestines. It just causes your intestines to work better and faster, which may reduce the risk of metabolic and cardiovascular related diseases. It can reduce constipation, and although I don't know if there's any scientific evidence for this, I tell myself that the less time the food is in my body, the less time there is for me to absorb calories from it. I find that a good motivation to exercise, whether it's true or not. According to the Mayo Clinic, regular exercise helps prevent or manage stroke, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, depression, anxiety, many types of cancer, arthritis, falls, and metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is actually a cluster of conditions that occur together, including abnormal cholesterol or triglyceride levels, excess body fat around the waist, insulin resistance, and high blood pressure. Metabolic syndrome increases your risk of heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. Exercise also improves your mood, boosts your energy, promotes better sleep, and it may even improve your sex life. So, all of that is great, and you've probably heard it before. But it doesn't change the fact that if you're significantly overweight, exercise can be pretty unpleasant. And the way you look while doing it can be embarrassing. So, what to do? I'm going to assume that most people viewing this can at least walk unassisted. If that isn't true, then you should probably work with a medical professional to establish an exercise program, because I don't think I'm qualified to advise you. But if you can walk, then all you have to do is do it. Walking is a best exercise. You don't have to run or do anything heroic. You just have to walk. My current goal is to walk 30 to 50 minutes at least 6 days a week. Some days I'll walk for up to 80 minutes and sometimes only 20 minutes, but my goal is about 40 minutes. I don't power walk, but I don't stroll either. Generally 40 minutes is enough to walk between 2 and 3 miles at the pace I walk. Of course, I didn't start out walking that much, and I wouldn't recommend that you do so either if you don't currently get much exercise. There was a time when I thought 10 minutes was pretty darned impressive. Just start out doing what you can and increase as you're able. But for most people without other health problems, 40 minutes a day, at least 5 days a week, is probably a reasonable goal in the long term. I live in a northern climate, so walking outside isn't always feasible. I'm not put off that much by moderately cold weather, but I am afraid of slippery conditions. So when it isn't possible to walk outside, I walk inside. My preference is to walk on a treadmill, although there have definitely been times when I walked in the halls of a shopping center or a school or college. If you really want to do it, there's usually a way. My favorite indoor workout is a 20-minute session on an elliptical trainer, followed by a 20-minute session on a treadmill. I like to ride a bike, especially where off-street paved trails are available. So in the summer, I may go for a long bike ride rather than walking. There's also a lot to be said for strength training. Strength training increases your muscle mass, which in turn increases your calorie usage. It also leads to stronger bones, flexibility, stamina, and an overall sense of well-being. However, strength training needs to be in addition to your walking, biking, or whatever aerobic exercise you're doing. You may not believe this at this point, but one of the really wonderful things about exercise is that it becomes addictive. After you do it regularly, your body will start reminding you that it wants some exercise, just like your dog does. You just have to learn to listen to it. But there is definitely a feeling you develop that you know can only be satisfied by exercising. So, as with weight loss, start with where you are and go from there. It doesn't have to be boring. Walk with a friend, or listen to music or books on headphones, or just enjoy a beautiful day. But however you do it, move. It's critical, and it will definitely get easier over time. So how are you going to find an extra 30 to 50 minutes in your day to exercise? I know for some people it will be very difficult. You just don't have time. Well, as a really annoying teacher I had in high school liked to remind me when I said I didn't have time to do my homework, we all have the same amount of time every day. It's all about how we decide to use it. Besides, if you exercise and lose weight, there's a very real chance you will add several years to your life. How many 40-minute exercise periods could you carve out of an extra few years of high-quality living? I realize that some people really don't have a way to get an extra 40 minutes into their daily schedule without giving up on sleep, which is not a good solution, or shortchanging their family, which is also not good. It's a hard situation, but your family also needs for you to stick around for a while and be healthy. Weight loss and exercise are important strategies for doing that. I guess all I can say is try really hard to find a way, because it is important to your health and well-being, and the cognitive weight control program really doesn't work without it. It took some time, but I no longer dread exercise. In fact, I often look forward to it because I know how relaxed I will feel when it's done, and I often enjoy doing it. Taking a long walk or bike ride on a beautiful day can be really fun. Put your creativity into it. Exercise is critical, but it doesn't have to be a drag. So here's your limerick for this session. Jerry's plane was high in the air, but his seat didn't fit his derriere. He leaned to the aisle, but was knocked in a pile by a cart whose driver didn't care. In the next session, we'll talk about some of the motivational aspects of weight control. See you then.